Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Got my notebook today because we've got some figures to look at. So welcome to the Sunday chat, mostly orchids today, you'll be pleased to hear. And the first thing I said I'd do today, in what will be quite a short Sunday chat compared to others, the reason being my daughter Hannah's down and we're tidying up the garden. No big jobs as such, but lots of little jobs. On that subject, I did a video yesterday morning before we started. So on the Gardening and Bonsai channel, there's a before look round the garden with some ideas of the sorts of things we're going to get up to. And then early next week, after Hannah's gone back, I'll do an update on that. What's that just fell out of there? Oh. Right. So yeah, so that's that done. Now we did the little competition, little bit of fun to say which of the Orchid Society's displays at the BBC Gardeners World International Orchid Show. Now I must admit I got told off for missing an Orchid Society. I didn't say I got all of them, I said I got most of them, and I apologise to any society that I missed. But it was a busy place, there were lots of people around, and the chances are I went to film some of them and couldn't get near them because a crowd was there or whatever, and then forgot to go back or ran out of time. Pick any one of those. But apologies for not getting all of them, but we got a good smattering of them. Right, now all of you good people who voted for the central one, which is an outstanding amount of people voted for that one. And if you were in judging school, you'd all be fired because you picked it for the wrong reasons. I agree with your reasoning, but it was an orchid show, not a moss, tree trunk and tropical plant show. It was supposed to be an orchid display. That's reflected in the judging, the actual judges, the qualified people, which isn't me. But I agree with your reasoning. It made the orchids look like they were growing in a natural setting. But if you looked closer at the orchids, there weren't that many for the size of the display, and some of them were not exactly your highest quality. Now the trouble is with society displays, you can only put in the display what your members have currently got in bloom, and you can get thin on the ground where you haven't got enough of the quality end of the plants and you have to substitute with some that might not be quite so good to fill the display up to make it worthwhile. So that was that. Devon got quite a few votes. That was what I call a standard display. Rows of shelves, black cloth, and the pots disguised by whatever it was they wrapped them in, black stuff. So it was basically black with orchids poking out. So when you went to look at that one, it shouted, "Here are the orchids." Nicely spaced out, nicely spread out, and some very, very good plants. So I forgot to say, 37 of you voted for the central one. 7 voted for Devon, which was second. That's how wide the gap was. Cheshire got 1. I included those that said, I've chosen this one, but a very close second or a most worthy mention. I included those in the totals because they were mentioned, even though they wasn't necessarily first choice. Darlington got 3, Hinckley got 1, and Wessex got 1. The reason Wessex got 1 wasn't that it was a great display, because quite honestly, even though it was our society, it wasn't the best, but one plant in there was exceptional. So that was that. A bit of fun, and that's how it went. And apologies again for the Orchid Societies I didn't get to film. There would have been reasons on the day. Bearing in mind it was a very long, tiring day for me. And I wasn't looking forward to the drive home, and in the end I decided the sooner I get on with it the better. So that's what happened. On that day out, thanks to everybody who contributed towards the day in some shape or form. Some people said get some gas for your car. I was talking to Hannah on the way down. I said, I don't understand why Americans call it gas. You know, it's a liquid. It's you pour it, it's a liquid. And she looked at me and she said, it's probably short for gasoline. And I went, duh. Whoops. Whereas we call it petroleum, petrol, short for petroleum. At the end of the day, it's fuel for the car. So thanks to everybody who contributed in whichever way you did. Yeah, thanks a lot. Made the day feel more worthwhile rather than worrying about it, so that was good. An update on my DSAs. I spoke to quite a few people there about DSAs. There were a lot of DSAs in many of the displays. They're catching on. And I think it's not so much that they're catching on, it's that there now is supply. Because if they're growing reasonably well, they multiply at such a rate. Somebody who's got a couple, by the end of the year has got a couple of dozen. So the supply is mounting, which means they're more readily available and more people are giving them a go. But most of the people I spoke to agreed that my problem was the water, the RO water, you know, just too pure. That's not what they should do. So I actually did the DSAs this morning, early. I don't know what it is now, 9 o'clock, 9:15, so it's still quite early. And basically what the consensus was, what you're doing is probably as good as you can do because you haven't got rainwater. So what I'm doing is any water that's in the trays, I empty out, so that gets discarded. And then I put some RO water in one of my bowls and stick the air stones in it and bubble it for about an hour, get it really well oxygenated, and then I put a bit of feed in it. That helps lower the pH and gives them something to work with and makes the water closer to rainwater, which is not pure. It's got stuff in it that it picks up on the way down, plus it picks up a lot of oxygen on the way down. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm mixing that water up, and then I pick the pots up, let them drain, so all the old water comes out, and then I pour this new oxygenated water with a bit of feed through the top of the pot and put it back in a clean tray and let it drain into the tray. So the tray does have a small amount of that water in it, as well as pouring it through the pot, which pushes out the stale water and the stale air and draws in some fresh air, getting some oxygen in the pots. So that's what's happening. That's what I did this morning. I want to mention something on YouTube that lost me an hour of my life, an hour of my time, based on a change on YouTube that is totally unnecessary, and it's not been done to all channels, and I still can't work out the logic of why one of my channels got hit with this change and the other one didn't. Anyway, it was Friday morning. Must have been Friday morning, yes. I got on the laptop as I usually do, went to deal with my comments, and the latest comment was 2 days old. I thought, what the hell's gone wrong with this? And I looked at the settings, I looked at everything I could, and basically I couldn't work out what had happened. I went over to the Gardening and Bonsai channel, and that one was fine. So I then sort of think, well, something's happened to one that hasn't happened to the other. I still haven't worked out why one and not the other. I don't care, but I was sort of stuffed because all my latest comments and things weren't showing. And I eventually worked it out. I went on to Google and searched all the sort of things that could have gone wrong, because as soon as something goes wrong on YouTube, there'll be 10 videos about it, and people will pretend they know how to fix it, you know. And they'll do all the state and the bleeding obvious things, which everybody else has already tried, and they don't work. Otherwise we wouldn't be looking up the flipping thing, would we? Yeah, so there wasn't anything, a known problem like this. So I went back and started looking deeper. And what's happened is, on the comments, community it's called now, there's a filter. Now that can be used to find all the comments with a certain name. You know, it can be useful, and it's a drop down with lots of items. And sneaking on the bottom is a new one, and it's basically choices on how the comments are displayed. One of them is those not responded to, which is the default. So that's why the only comments that were showing were older ones, and they're ones where I'd put a heart on them and not written a comment, and it counted those as not responded to. So that's the list I was looking at. Took a while to twig that. So anyway, in this new filter down there, you can basically do all the selections, which basically brings the whole lot back. I mean, obviously if I do any sort of reset on Google and clear the cache or anything like that, I'll have to do it again. But anyway, I just thought it looks like it may only affect larger channels, and maybe YouTube have got this magic cut-off. Or the fact that I've got it on one and not on the other, it could be when the channel was created. But who knows, and we'll never find out. You know what YouTube are like, it's all secret. So I thought I'd give you a warning shot. Now there won't be many people watching that have got large channels. They've got their own channel to deal with, haven't they? But I think YouTube have been discussing this with the large big channels that they make a fortune out of, to try and appease them, because they've got to keep them happy, haven't they? And it was probably discussed that those big channels, they don't respond to comments. Or very rarely, they just ignore them. I don't even think they read them a lot of the time. So the default of those unresponded on those big channels would be everything anyway, wouldn't it? But on the smaller channels where we do bother and we appreciate the comments that people leave, a lot of those comments would have been shut out by not selecting the right filter. What a pain. As I said, I lost an hour of my life messing with that. Right, I've got a couple of new blooms, we'll do that next. As I say, and then we've got one bit at the end which you get a warning shot, so that if you don't want to listen, you can go and play in the traffic, as they say. Right, where's it gone? Here it is, and it's smashing. The Miltoniopsis species Vexillara has opened over the last couple of days. Now this is a named variety of Vexillaria, and it's Josephina. Not quite sure what was special enough for it to get registered with a, I think they call it a Grex name or whatever, but these are gorgeous Miltoniopsis. Slightly fragrant, but then, as I've said before, because I don't get any sun through shade netting like I used to get at the old place, a lot of the fragrance is lost on the blooms in here. But I thought we'd have a look at that one. That is a very pretty bloom. Very pretty. And there's another spike round here with another 3 buds. First one's just starting to open. So that's doing well. That's one. And there's another one that I'm not sure it's fully open yet. Is it? Well, it's not far off, so we'll have a look at it today. Because I don't usually film tomorrow, do I? So this is Masdevallia Prince Charming. Lovely deep rich colour. Bronzy, orangey bronzy type colour. Lovely bloom. So that's that one. The big Dendrobium, the other black hair type that we looked at, everything in bloom, we had a look at them, loads of blooms. They are now opening, so we've got clusters of those, but it's at the back of a whole group of plants. I'm not getting that out today. Right, now I gave a warning shot earlier when I sort of did the changes, but on the end of the Sunday chat video, and only there will I elaborate on this, I'm trying to get my memberships higher, and it has been deemed, thank you Hannah, that you can't expect people to make regular donations and give nothing back. Well, I've been getting away with it because I'm a lazy tyke, polite version. So I need that to change, so I'm changing it and it'll start soon. So you've got the choices, you've got the YouTube membership, and there are different levels of membership, and you've got the Patreon site where you can become a member there. Now at the moment on the Patreon site, all you get is an ad-free version of this Sunday chat video. That's the only perk. And I've always been posting those as public. So you've got people that are watching that video ad-free for free, for nothing, because they haven't joined. So I put a banner heading up saying this is the last time, this was last Sunday, this is the last one that you will be able to watch for free. Perhaps you should think about joining. So rather than lose access to my Sunday chat videos, they could join and carry on. So I put out a hint there. And as I said, I need to try and bump the memberships up. So what we're going to do on the memberships, whether it's on the YouTube channel, membership there, or on the Patreon site, is irrelevant. They're both going to get the same. So if you're a member on either, if you're an existing member, you don't need to do anything. These changes will be me doing it, sort of thing. And at the basic levels, at the lower rates that you join at, you will get a members only video once a month, and it will be literally members only. Nobody else can see it. Now at the moment that's quite an effort on my part for very few people, but I'm hoping that by offering some goodies the number of those people will grow. So that's the idea. And then those who pay a higher membership rate will get 2 a month. And I will work on other things that I might be able to do for members. If the memberships does start to climb, then I'm prepared to do more for obvious reasons, like perhaps do a live session for members only. That'll be a bit of a treat. And I wouldn't get swamped like I have done before when I did a live. Because the trouble is, if I broadcast, I'm going to do a live broadcast, everybody's in there, the comments go absolutely mad, I can't keep up with it all. But if it was for members only, it would be a cosy little gathering, wouldn't it? Yeah? So these are the ideas, yeah? And nonetheless, we've still got the ability to contribute in other ways. One of them being the buy me a coffee, obviously, and the other way being whatever it's called. I keep forgetting what it's called, but there is a way where you leave a comment on a video of making a donation at that point, and it shows up on the comment, yeah, as a banner heading, bright colour with the amount of money. So there's that way as well. So thanks to everybody who does, thanks to everybody who is already a member. And literally starting sometime this week will be the first members only video, and then next Sunday we will revisit the memberships, and unless somebody specifically says they don't want this, then all of my members, with an emphasis on any new ones I get, will get a shout out in this section of the Sunday chat. So you get a mention. And for those of you who aren't members, when you're looking down through the comments on the video, the members get a special little badge alongside any comments that they leave. So you can see that this person's comment, that person is a member. And the badges change the longer you stay with the membership, sort of thing. So they change. I think it's up to 2 months, and then I think it's 1 month, and I think it's either 2 or 3, and then 6, and then a year. I haven't got any farther than that yet. So that's that done, and over and above that, thanks to everybody who watches the channel, supports the channel in that way, the simplistic way of watching the videos, perhaps watching a few adverts or bits of adverts and stuff like that, and leaving a comment. And at this point, because you've probably forgotten and you haven't done it and you're just about to bail out because the video's ending, don't forget the thumbs up, please. You'd be surprised, that does more good than quite a few other things. That does more good than subscribing, quite honestly, nowadays, the way YouTube works. So thanks for all of that in any shape or form. It is greatly appreciated. The channel grows at a very low rate, but it's a steady increase, steady pace. I can be pleased with that. But with the push on the memberships, perhaps we can get that to speed up a bit. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.